Hey, welcome to Stat Sisters. We are going to introduce ourselves a little bit so you can understand how fabulous we are and the reasons behind our podcast and what we hope for it to be in the future. I want to welcome my sister Erin
Hello.
and Carrie, and Erin's going to start this little introduction episode off by summarizing her early
Ooh,
years. Take it away, Erin.
Aaron in the early years. Well, I am the younger of us by so many months. For about another 6 weeks now, I'm technically still younger than Carrie. I grew up in Northern California in this little tiny community. It was kind of just a lot of farmland and rolling hills and big gnarly oak trees, and I loved it. I was middle of five kiddos. I have two older brothers and a younger brother and sister, and I don't know. I just kind of, I grew up and I grew up playing soccer and 4-H and um, just doing all normal American kid stuff, I guess. Um, just really enjoying I not living on the beach. I can't say California life, but I just really enjoyed my little community and just was interested in school and all sorts of stuff. My mom passed away when I was 13, and so then my dad became a single father and met Carrie's mom when we were in high school. Um, and that's kind of how we began our little our relationship. What am I missing, Carrie? It's hard to summarize your whole
Um,
childhood in like a little tiny bit.
I think that's cool. Especially, I mean, you lived in the same house
Yeah, I lived in the same house.
almost your entire childhood, which is really awesome.
Yeah, we had another home before my younger sister before my Sarah was born. We had another like two-story house, but it was um my mom had been a teacher in the school district up until I was born, and my parents still really wanted us to keep going in that school district and because it was a really good one. And so our transfer was expiring that year, and so we moved, and then that's the house that you met me in and that we lived in together. And so yeah, I think I moved there the summer before first grade, if I remember. Yeah, because Sarah would have been one, and we're 4 years apart, and so 5 years apart. Yeah, so pretty much from first grade on, I stayed in the same house in the same community, and even so, even before that, I was still the same community and friends, and people from church, and so it's just such a great. I love going home. It's just such a great like sense of family when I go back there. So lots of amazing memories. So especially this time of year with fall, and I think of like our school carnival growing up, and my parents were really involved in like our school activities and supporting us in sports and all those community type things. And so it's just a great feeling to have and stuff that I want to be able to give to my kids. What about you?
It is a very adorable
I
community.
know, right?
Very
It's very
cute.
picturesque and very hot in the summer.
So, I'm like the opposite of Erin in that I did not grow up in one house.
No.
Um, I was born in Texas, and then very like within the first month of life, like my parents moved to California where they were both raised, and we lived in like a ton of different places. I've been all over California from way down by Bakersfield all the way up to Northern California and everywhere in between. I also am one of five children. So if you do the math, that was 10 children altogether. That's a
It's a
lot.
lot.
And they all lived in the house at various times, although the two oldest on Aaron's side were already adults
Right.
when we were
But us,
combined.
us middle six
Um,
were total stair steps.
yes, so I'm the oldest of five girls, and it was very funny because the oldest three and the youngest three of the combo families were all the same age. So if you can imagine, that was complicated.
To say the least.
Yes,
Within like
yes,
months
trying
of
to
each other
combine
too.
all that. Yes. So we had like instant like sibling twins without any prior experience together. So, but we had lots of good times. There was a good times, the bad times, and everything in between. And so back to my childhood. First, my bio dad was like a blue collar worker, and so we did a lot of just like normal stuff, I guess, growing up in California. And then her second husband was in the Air Force, and so we became military brats, but we only lived in on one base for several years. And that's where I did most of my high school, was near that base in a little tiny town, which is a lot like Palisadro, very, very sweet and cute. And I think 3,000, like maybe, no, maybe 1,500, 3,000, under
It's
3,000,
pretty
very
close, yeah,
small.
because Palisadro is right around 2,000, and I think it's pretty darn close actually.
Yeah, so then our the end of our junior year, our parents met and decided to get married, and then we moved right after junior year, and then yes, that's when we became
You
sisters.
guys came moving in, and so here we were, me and my younger. So, like I said, I'm the middle. So there's myself, and then I have a younger brother and a younger sister, and so we were the three youngers at home still. And Carrie and her four sisters came moving in with their mom, and we were excited. We were pumped to have more siblings, and we thought, oh, this is great. And so we were trying to welcome them in our ways. And I was totally a tomboy growing up. Like I said, we kind of grew up on like a little, I would say kind of like a tiny farm. I certainly wouldn't call it a ranch, but we did raise pigs, and we had, dogs and cats, and eventually horses and chickens. And gosh, what else did we end up with, Carrie? Did we have ducks,
Oh,
geese?
yeah, we just had a lot of stuff, and that was my like first experience living with that. Like my grandfather had a ranch by Sacramento, so I was used to that kind of life, but I had never lived it.
Right.
So that was interesting, and we had similarities, but very much so in high school we were very different, and we've grown to be more alike as we gotten older, but it was quite different.
Oh, absolutely. And we were all thrown together. And so my younger siblings
Like
and I were.
stacked like wood
Oh my
in there.
gosh, yeah. So you and Lisa moved into my bedrooms. We had three teenage girls in this. I thought the room was a lot bigger than it really was in real life, I guess.
Oh no, it was
It
small.
was tiny. In my imagination, it was so big. And I was a little eccentric. And so poor Carrie and Lisa. But so then, we were playing around and doing our normal sibling stuff. And poor Carrie, because they're all girl family, and they're not used to boys and teasing, and they would cry. And I remember going to my dad so many times and be like, oh my gosh, Dad, they cry all the time. What are we doing wrong? He's like,
Oh no, you guys weren't doing
he's
anything
like, you
wrong.
guys,
It
they
was
just
just
don't
the
get it.
circumstances. I cried most of that year.
Oh, I felt so bad, you poor thing. Could you imagine you guys being pulled away your senior year?
Yeah, it was
The
rough, but you know
injustice.
what? It turned out okay because I met my husband
Yeah,
that year, my senior year.
yeah, you did later that year. And you met
Yep.
me, so ta-da!
Yeah,
Oh,
lifelong bestie.
boom, totally worth it. So we had our ups and downs, and Carrie and I actually we graduated, and then we moved out with a mutual good friend just a few weeks after we graduated high school.
It was 10 days.
I was trying to like so my friend and I, we were gonna go, and then at the last minute, Carrie's like, "Take me with you," and we moved out. Wasn't it? You were working, and I got off work, and we got the keys to our apartment, and it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, wasn't it? And our
Yeah.
parents were like, "We're going to bed," and I think you were still working, and you were getting off at like midnight, and you were like, "Just start loading up. I'll meet you there." And our parents were like, "Peace out. Good night. We're going to bed."
Yeah, that was so In retrospect, that's
I
weird, but
loved, oh my
whatever.
gosh, I loved it. It was hilarious because we got all of our friends, anybody who had a truck or anything, their parents, AKA, had a truck. Oh my gosh, they just came over and just hauled all of our stuff. And so we moved out. You were 18 and I was 17. And we,
And yeah, we thought we were really
we were
clever. And
so,
we had the best
we,
summer
oh my
ever.
gosh, it was a fabulous summer. And then we were like, oh, we have to grow up and go to school and pay bills and do all that kind of stuff. So then, oh, anyway, so that summer, yeah, that was an amazing summer.
No, it was amazing. It didn't, yeah, we weren't roommates very long though. I moved to Weaverville
Right, like in the
like
fall, because I moved to a different apartment in the fall, and then we kind of grew apart for a while, and we went our separate ways.
moved out and I got engaged and later I got married and we actually got married the same month in the same year. And then I'm pretty much after that, like a year after that, we moved, my husband joined the Air Force and we moved to Florida. And it was back, like, internet was super early. Like, I was on CompuServe. And the only reason I even had CompuServe is because my mom like made me get on the internet because she said it was like super important, and I was just like, whatever, I don't need that. I didn't have a cell phone. Long distance was super expensive. I had two kids by the time
Right.
I was 21, and so I just totally engrossed myself in that, and then decided at 22 I was gonna finish school because like I had dropped out of college to get married and have some babies. And so I decided I was going to go to college, and I made a very, because I am very logical, I made a very logical and calculated decision to become a nurse. And I don't have a very, like, all the feels type of, I was called to be a nurse story, like a lot of nurses, because I was just looking. I mean, of course, I am a caring person, I think, and like I've been a caretaker most of my life, but I wasn't drawn to nursing. I remember in high school, someone like coughed up a loogie in the drinking fountain, and I threw up in the hallway because I could not deal with body fluids. And
Obviously, that's changed
yeah,
as a L&D nurse.
yeah. Well, still, your sputum's gross.
Sputum's not my favorite. That's for certain.
But like I didn't really have any idea that I'd become a nurse. I thought I'd be a writer or a
Right.
lawyer
I
or
was shocked.
something.
I remember when I was talking to my dad, and he was like, "Yeah, and Carrie's graduating nursing school over in Florida," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, like and once I decided, I went for it and I was just like taking full loads and like
Oh yeah.
summer and weekends, and I just blasted through. And in 4 years I had got my bachelor's degree. And then right at nursing school, the week before graduation, I had Drew, who's my third baby. And then my husband got orders to Korea, and if we had stayed with him to go to Korea, he would have had to re-enlist, and we were planning on getting out. So I decided that I would move with the three kids to Oregon and wait for him to come back from Korea. And he came like every 6 months and visit. And then we ended up staying in Oregon for 6 years. Did I say that we moved to Florida? I was in Florida
You
for
did. I think because you were there for 6 years as well, weren't
yeah.
you?
We're like have like a 6 year limit. So
I
I
know,
moved
right?
to
It's coming
Oregon,
up.
and then my husband joined us after his 2 years in Korea, and then we moved to Texas after the 6 years, and we've been here now for four
Randomly.
years. I know I surprised everybody.
That's, I loved it though. It was so great. You're just like, we're moving here. I thought it was fabulous.
And because we were talking by that time, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
By the time we were in Oregon, we were back talking.
we had reconnected
Yeah, the internet. It was
a
the
few
internet.
years prior to that. Internet and cell phones and texting
Yes.
like non stop.
And then, so,
Because we were like off shifts. You were on nights at that
oh
point, and I was
yeah.
on days. And so we would text at like random, 3 in the morning,
Oh, I
whatever.
know. I remember like when we first were texting, like it might be 2 days before I answer you, and now it's like 20 minutes.
I know.
20
We're
minutes is a long
codependent.
time.
Seriously, I need to know what you're eating for breakfast, Carrie.
Oh gosh. So anyway, like in between, like while I was in Oregon, I I was like I'm going to become a midwife, and so then I went to like almost a year of midwifery school, and then I was like, no, I think I heard about this clinical nurse specialist, and I was like really evaluating, should I do the midwife life, which is hard when I was still wanting to have more babies, which I had two more while
Right.
I was in graduate school. So I switched to clinical nurse specialist, which I love, love, love that advanced practice nurse role. So I graduated. I had a baby like the week
Again,
after graduation or something.
you're good at that timing.
No. And then
I did the same thing.
we moved like a month, no, 2 months later, we moved to Texas, and then I've been here and I've been working in the medical center in Houston, and it is like amazing. And I'm almost done with my doctorate, and I will be finishing that in February, at the end of February, and then I am never going to school again. I'm done.
Well, because you're kind of done at that point. There's nothing left, girl. That's what you keep saying that, and then you keep going. And I get this invariably. I get this text from Carrie. So I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, of course you are.
Well, I think it's just pretentious to keep adding doctorates and degrees after you've already had a doctorate, so I'm just going to stop.
You really ought to, because our names are already extraordinarily like uneven when it comes to our initials. And it's only because my last name is longer than yours that I even have any chance at all.
Oh gosh, whatever. So
You're showing me up,
tell
girl.
me about your until like since we left each other and then up to now.
Okay, so we went parting of their ways, and I remained in Northern California for quite a few years. I got married in fall of '98, so actually just the month before you, huh? Because I got married in September, and you got married in October, right?
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, Lisa's the one that got married in October. Yeah, we were like a few weeks apart.
Yeah, it wasn't very far. So, anywho, I got married. We didn't have kids for a while. We actually struggled with a little bit of, well, we waited for a while and we struggled with a little bit of infertility for a few years, and then finally had our first as we were getting ready to move to Idaho. So, we moved to the Pocatello area, which is on the southeastern side of the state where it's nice and cold and snowy, and I miss that. Um, Back in 2003, and that is where I finished my nursing degree. At that point, unlike Carrie, I had this moment when I was like 11. I remember thinking, I need to choose a career. I I need to know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, because I always, always, always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Like I said earlier, my mother was a teacher. She taught kindergarten up until I was born, and then she just substituted after that point and would fill in at the school we went to. And so all my teachers knew my parents because they had like taught with her, so we couldn't get away with anything. My father was a chemist, is a chemist. He taught at the college level. Um, and so I actually had him for like the nursing OChem portion. That was fun. But anyway, so I decided when I was 11, for some reason I got it in my head that I needed to pick a career because that was really important to do when you were 11. So I decided I was going to be a pediatrician, and I wanted to be a physician, and that's what I decided when I was 11. And I started like paying really close attention when Seth or Sarah, my younger siblings, would get like boo-boos and scrapes, and I would like clean it up and put their
You were like
bandages
Doc
on.
McStuffins.
I know. I know, before Doc McStuffins was even around. But yeah, and so I did. I was really into it, and that was my focus. I didn't do any like CNA programs or anything in high school, oddly enough, because they offer those, and that would have been actually great. But I was in honors courses, and you couldn't do both, and so I stayed the honors route. Um, but that was my goal. I was pre-med when I started college. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. My mom was, I'm kind of digressing here. My mom, after I was born, she did. She stayed home other than substituting here and there. And I loved that. And I wanted to give that life to my kids. And so that was my primary goal. But I wanted to get an education. It was very important for me to get an education and to be able to provide an avocation for my family, should it be necessary. And just to have that for myself. I wanted to have that degree and just that knowledge. And medicine just really, as I from the age of 11 apparently just really drew me, and the more I advanced and got older and the more I learned about it, I became increasingly interested in it, became very passionate about medicine and all of its disciplines, and I was just really amazed by it and the human body and the miracle, that it is and that we've been given from, from our creator, and how it just all works. And so I went into college pre-med and took a year of my classes in chemistries, and then got married and realized, yes, I do want to have children, and it's a lot easier to be a part-time nurse and a full-time mom that is to be a full-time mom and a part-time physician, especially when you're not well established in your practice. And so I changed at that point of my life my major to nursing, from pre-med, and went that route. And like here, I took some time off in the middle because I kind of got most of my prerequisites done, and then kind of hit a stopping point, trying to have children, and I was needing to work full time to help support our family. And so I took a few years off, and then when we moved to Idaho in 2003, I re-enrolled after the birth of my eldest, after my son, and then did the last year of my prerequisites, and my plan was to finish that and then get my BSN in nursing. And so I I did that, and I had our oldest, and I started he was born in January, and I applied and I got into the program, and I started in August of 2004. And like a week into school, I was so exhausted, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this new mom, because he was like 6 months old, whatever, 7, 8 months old at that point. I'm like, this new mom thing is really hard. And I'm going back to school, and I'm just so tired all the time. Well, I found I was pregnant again. And so I'm like, oh, that's why I'm so tired. So I did finish my prerequisites, and then we had a little break, and I too graduated right before the birth of my third. Carrie and I have almost twin boys, Ashton and Aiden. They are 2 days apart. And so I actually graduated early. I finished in December, but then I came back to walk with my class in May. Like at 38 weeks pregnant, I traveled back across the state because we moved to Boise after I finished my courses, and then I passed my NCLEX at the beginning of that year. And so I came back to walk with my class, and I was hugely pregnant.
It's the best.
And so I was
I still
big
looked
old big old
pregnant
beach
when I
ball.
walked.
Well, so that's another thing we kind of did together. And they are like bosom buddies, but it's so fun to see them together, those two. But anyway, so I graduated, and that was back in 2008, and that was when the economy really kind of tanked out. I still liked pediatrics. I still wanted to be in the women's and children's arena. When I was in nursing school, I requested extra rotations at in the pediatrics realm. And so I went to like primary children's in Salt Lake City in Utah for a few weeks, and did that for my capstone courses, and really loved it. And then in my senior year, when we did OB, I just geeked out. I really enjoyed it, and kind of got bit with that bug in addition to peds. And so I knew that I really wanted to get into women's and children's, but the economy just like dropped out. And the class who graduated the year before me, it went from, remember where it used to be, and may have been like this with you guys, Carrie, where like they would fly you out to interview as a nurse,
Oh
and they would
yeah.
like put you up in a hotel, and they would like take you out to dinner and try to like, I mean, like they were selling the job to you. I mean, pretty much how it is for physicians now. And there was like bonuses, they would offer to repay student loans and after X many years of service and things like that. Well, all of that went away, and it went from being like I felt like an art major trying to get a job. And I was like, I'm a nurse here. I'm not an actor or a painter. And I couldn't get a job and I couldn't get a job. And that's what actually transpired our move across the state. And so we moved to the Boise area, and I got a job as a nursing director of an assisted living memory care unit. We had both, and I think I've talked about that a little. And so I was over about 40 to 50 um, non-licensed personnel, like caregivers and med techs, um, over our three different units. We had two acute memory care units for Alzheimer's dementia patients that were lockdown units, and then we had a large assisted, not independent living, but assisted living section for the more cognizant and more independent residents. And so I enjoyed that. I did not enjoy the schedule. That was super busy. It was full time. I was on call 24/7, 7 days a week, for the years that I was there, which was, I started that job when I was pregnant with my third, and so that was really just taxing on me. And then eventually the economy started to rally, and I went into hospital nursing and was able to get, because locally the hospitals here pretty much statewide went on a hiring freeze back in 2008 for about 2 years. um, and so when that changed and they started hiring externally again, I got into my employer working med surge floors, and then I eventually transitioned into mother baby and pediatrics, which is where I remain at this point. um, Through that, I've had just lots of stuff. So I moved to Boise January of '09. So we've been here ever since then, or the Boise area, I should say. Um, and I'm a mother of six now. I have a his, mine, and ours. I met my husband, um, gosh, years ago, actually, like right after I moved to Idaho. But we didn't get married until, when was that? 2012. So we've known each other for quite some time, and then had actually known our children, and we reconnected, and when we were single after my divorce, and we got married, and we have a little boy together, our youngest. And so now we have six kiddos, and they keep us super super busy. My husband also works for the same hospital, as you'll hear multiple times over our podcast. He's a surgical tech on the neuro team, and really loves his job. He had a background in ER, emergency medicine before that, and actually some law enforcement previous to that. And he was just kind of didn't enjoy the law enforcement aspect and wanted to get back into to healthcare and medicine. So he went back to school, about 5 or 6 years ago, and changed his major. So we went through all of that, in our 30s, and it was like dating and being in your 20s going to college all over again. And his poor schedule, he was never sleeping, and I was always totally stressed about him. And
It was a hard
but he's
time.
done. Oh my goodness, it was so hard. I was just so worried about him because he just never slept. And that man is just stalwart, and he never complained. And I whine all the time. I work one night shift, and I'm like, I'm so tired. But anyways, I feel like I'm kind of all over the map here.
Well, I think that
So
gives a
yeah,
good
we met.
summary. And I'm
Like,
sure you all get to know us a lot better as we podcast. We just wanted like a real introduction so people know who we are, because we're hoping that more than the 7 people we know between the two of us listen.
People are like, we know all this, guys.
I know. Well, Aaron and I, like we were talking about, we like do stuff on the internet all the time. And once we both like grew up enough to have cell phones, we texted all the time. And then after I moved to Texas, at some point, it was like I think the first year, we started sending videos to each other. Just
Yes, one day I remember that you announced, you were like, I'm starting to do this because I want to hear your voice and I want you to hear my voice. I want to be able to connect with you. It was so funny. But I've loved it.
it was great. Like I think it was like I think the I remember the exact day because I was going to the post office to mail Christmas presents or something. I think. But
Wow.
any
I remember that. I remember that first message though, because I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And it was fun to like, and because we talked nonstop, Carrie. Oh my goodness. I mean, rarely on the phone,
No,
but
because we're always
texting.
doing other things and we're both moms of large families and we're totally
Right,
like I
between
think you
our
were
11
on night
children,
shift. I don't know. We've been on all different crazy shifts.
we keep flip-flopping.
Right.
Well, then after, well, okay, so we had more simultaneous babies. We had our boys together and literally almost together, and then our youngest are born the same year. And so we were both doing, you were on nights then and I was on days, and we were doing the, you know, awake breastfeeding, working
Yes.
24/7 around the clock. And so it was not uncommon at all to like wake up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning and start having a text conversation with you because we're both up breastfeeding at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes. That was awesome. I forgot about that. Oh
It
gosh.
helped me get through it kept my sanity.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, so we
So you
started
could say we kept in touch.
yes. Yes. So but yeah, we don't talk on the phone that much, but I think that's like a new thing. People just don't talk on the phone as much, but that's why I love this podcast, by the way. But then, so
Exactly.
we started doing that and just like videos that we sent, and that was like eating up a ton of data. And then Aaron's like, I
Mhm.
found this new app called Glide, and it made it so much easier. Not a sponsor, but Glide hit us up. Anyway,
Right? Seriously, you could be.
we were like the
You want a piece of this, guys.
yes. So we started gliding, and
And then our kids started gliding and we loved it, and to be able to hear and interact and have that level of communication. You know, when you hear somebody, how many times have any of you out there been misinterpreted on a text message?
yes, and it's just fun.
But
So we just have been doing that for so long, and then I love podcasts. I have a very long commute, and so I listen to podcasts all the time. And I was like, we are already pretty much podcasting, but it's like asynchronous. I was like, we could totally do this, and we are just so hilarious.
we are. And bear with us if, these first couple podcasts were probably, it's like a first date. You get a little nervous and then you gotta like, right? Am I right? And then you gotta work into it. And so
Yes.
our hilarity is going to grow. We just have to get used to this mic around our neck and knowing that everybody else is listening to our
Yes.
to our conversation. So
Yeah, bear with us. We're
hang
getting
in there,
better, and then
guys.
editing will get better too.
Don't break up with us after the first date. We promise there's more to come.
There is, and we want to hear input from you, audience, and
Yes,
see like what you want us to talk about and what you like and questions. We need questions
absolutely.
from real people. And so our vision of our podcast is to talk about nursing issues and also being a mom and a nurse and just the family dynamic and just kind of like a holistic view of nursing. And we also talk about nurses in the news because nurses are in the news, but no one really talks about it. It's not a sexy topic. And then also questions from our listeners because as a new nurse, as a nurse going through like a job transition or dealing with problems, there's stuff that we can give advice on that maybe is terrible advice or maybe that's good. You can
I
choose.
think between us, we've got quite a few years of experience. I mean, nursing experience since '08 for me, and healthcare. I've been in healthcare since I was like 17. So but we do. I mean, not to sell ourselves short, hopefully we do have some sound in addition to being entertaining. We would like to be able to give some sound advice to our fellow nurses and healthcare cohorts out there, or for maybe people who just who really geek out and enjoy medicine. Hey, more power to you.
That, yes.
If you're gonna listen to us, I'm not gonna kick you out of our bed for eating crackers. But
I know, you're right. I've been in healthcare since 2002.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Everything from a CNA all the way up to a nursing manager. So there's a few things I can talk about.
Yeah, we've carried quite a realm, between both of us, and we've both been nurse managers and done, the HR process and all the fun stuff that goes with that, and the evals Carrie was doing till 2 in the morning last night
Yeah.
when I was at my shift texting her.
Yeah, that was fun. I still have more of those to do.
So,
Um,
but yeah, we've got quite a sprinkling of experience. And so we want to talk about the topics that are important to nurses and important to medicine and that are, acute and happening now, whether it's in the news or, even in your region. So we definitely, like Carrie said, we want that feedback and we want to know what's important to you. We know what's important to us. So of course we're going to talk about that, but we want to know what's important to our listeners and what do people want to know about. And we want to, maybe bring some light and some interest to some of these stories or maybe problems that we are facing in the nursing field because we're passionate about what we do. We're passionate about medicine, we're passionate about nursing, we're passionate about our families and being mothers and being sisters and friends and those relationships that are just super important to us and that we maintain from 2,000 miles away. And so we want to just share that piece of our life with you guys. And we hope that you love it as much as we do and think it is as fabulous as we think it is.
and I'm sorry, that was such a great summary, but you forgot one of our primary passions.
Oh, Harry Potter.
Yes.
I did not forget.
So, we definitely cannot stop talking about Harry Potter. So, nursing,
Ever.
family, careers, Potter.
Potter. Definitely. And if that's not your thing, sorry, girls, guys, that might not be the podcast for you.
Exactly. There's definitely a niche that we're trying to fill.
There will be references and inferences and random jokes and quotes. And if you don't get them, that's great. But there's going to be some of you out there who agree that we are friggin' hilarious.
Yes. Our fellow Medi witches from St. Mungo's will enjoy all of that.
St. Mungo's and going strong.
Especially coming in the next few years, but especially November, there's a new movie.
I know, I'm so excited.
All right. Well,
All right.
so thanks for listening to our intro episode. You can tweet us on Twitter at StatSisters. Email us statsisters@gmail.com. You can comment on SoundCloud, and we really encourage that. Also, we're on iTunes, and we're on YouTube. So,
Yep, and you can like us on Facebook or find us on Instagram, all under Stat Sisters. We would love to hear your feedback, good, bad, and otherwise. Please give us your comments. Please let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear from us. Inquiring minds want to know, but thanks for giving us your time and kind of listening to us prattle on a little bit about ourselves. And we hope to keep hearing from you guys and seeing you later on down the road. Anything we're missing, Carrie, dear?
yeah, there was, so two more things. When we talk about different subjects and we say, oh, there's an article about that, or we're gonna post a link, we're gonna post those on YouTube and then probably on our website, but definitely on YouTube. I call it the doobly doo. That's what a lot of YouTubers call it. That's from Wheezy Waiter. Shout out, Wheezy Waiter is awesome. And that's where you click down and you see more information. So we'll be posting that there. And then also, if you love our podcast but you want to have better sound quality, you can be our patrons. Go to patreon.com/statsisters and you can pledge $1 a month and help us buy better audio equipment for your listening pleasure.
Good soundbite there. Good job. Very sly.
So far we have 0.
That's all right. It's all right. We're technically minus 1 day into this, so it's okay.
That's true.
All right, Carrie. Well, I think that wraps it up. I think we covered everything we were wanting to cover for today. Is there anything we're missing?
No, I'll be happy to
Okay.
continue talking about myself. It's one of my favorite subjects, but I think we should end it at some point. So let's do that.
I think that's probably a good idea. So, all right, well, we're going to go get our kids ready to do trick or treating. Again, thanks for listening to us, and we can't wait to hear from you. And we'll see you next time. We'll see you later.
All right, bye.